Good morning, everybody. I hope you can understand my English. I'm Australian, but I speak English quite well. So today I'm here to talk to you about something related to wood. You all work with wood. You are wood scientists, furniture designers, and so on. So we have an interest together in wood. But my interest is probably a little bit different to yours. My interest is about something very simple but very wonderful. And I'm going to talk to you about that today. I'm going to talk to you about reinventing an ancient wood industry. Wood industry is very common now in China, around the world, wood technology. But in fact, wood technology is one of the most ancient technologies in the world. I'm talking about wood turning. Wood turning is the shaping of wood while it spins. And it spins on a machine called a lathe. Okay. This is the most ancient photograph, excuse me, Professor, a most ancient image of a lathe. This is the lathe. Here. This is in Egypt 2,500 years ago. This man has this strap around the wood and he's doing this. The wood spins. And this man is cutting the wood. 2,500 years old. Probably much, much older. Maybe 3,000 years old. Maybe 4,000 years old. We don't know. Also, we don't know where was the first place in the world to do this. Some people think it was Egypt, but we don't know. Maybe it was China. So this is what you saw. This is the lathe. This is the rope. This is the wood. Cutting and cutting. Probably before that was this. It's used for making a hole in stone. He goes up and down, the wood spins, and it cuts a hole in the wood here. It's a very ancient furniture technology for joining legs to chairs and so on. So furniture design students, this is really old furniture technique. Can you understand me? Yeah. Everybody okay? Good. Now this is an example from Morocco in North Africa, and it's now in this century. This man is turning exactly the same way as the Egyptians 2,500 years ago. He has here in his hand a bow, and the string is around the wood, and he does this with the bow, and the wood spins, and he cuts. One difference is he uses his foot to control the tool, but it happens now. It's happening now. Since that time, 2,500 years ago, many new ways were developed to turn the wood. In this one, the wood is turned with a big handle. It's about 500 years old, from the middle of Europe. This is another lathe from France. It's about 300 years old. You see this wheel here? There is a foot pedal. And you pedal like this, and it spins up here, and you cut the wood. So there are many different kinds of lathes in history. This is another one. This big wheel, and the assistant turns like this. And here is the lathe here, and the wood spins. Also French, from France. This man, this was about 120 years ago. This is in Switzerland. And he was turning with water power. In the mountains, the water comes down very fast, spins a wheel, and turns the lathe. So this is a water-powered lathe. Very common in many countries. I think he has a beautiful face. This is an ancient bowl, something for holding food. It's, I think it's 1,300 years old. And you can see this shape and this at the bottom. It's just like every bowl we use today, but it's a very, very old piece of a bowl. This one is, I think this one is 500 years old. And in Europe, everybody had a wooden bowl because people were poor. They used to eat their food from wooden bowls. They used to drink from wooden bowls. This one was very valuable. I know why it was very valuable, because they repaired it. It was broken. They didn't throw it away. They repaired it. So it must have been very valuable. And you see this line here. It's a circle. You can only do that on a lathe. This is a modern lathe, made in China, in fact. And you see, it's exactly the same. The wood is here, it spins. You use the tool and you cut. The one difference is electricity. But it's the same machine. This is a wood turner. In Australia, this is an Australian lathe. The wood is spinning, the tool is cutting, and the man is happy. And that's what I see when I'm cutting wood. I'm watching the wood, the tool goes in the wood, and all these beautiful pieces of wood fly in the air. It feels very nice to make that shape. It's so smooth. And this is an example of a salad bowl made by my friend, an Australian friend. It's a beautiful bowl. You put your salad, your lettuce, your tomatoes inside. It feels good. It's a natural material and it feels very good. So this bowl is not so different from the bowl 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. This history continued until now. Here's another example. Remember the bowl with the broken bowl? I said it's 1,000 years old. The line and the foot, look, it's the same. The line and the foot. But this was made 10 years ago. The other one was made 1,000 years ago. It's the same. The history continues. Wood turning. Also, we make things for decoration, just for pleasure. This man, my friend, is making a toy for children. And this is quite similar to the things you see in China. Toys and dolls for children and so on. That was 2007, you can see here, in Australia. But everything changed. Why did everything change for wood turning? Plastic. Plastic almost destroyed wood turning. Around 1950, 1960, plastic became very cheap. Before, we didn't have plastic. Plastic became very cheap and easy to make. Very quick, very cheap, cost almost nothing. In fact, you throw it away when you're finished. This almost destroyed wood turning. All over the world, wood turners began to disappear. The old men died. The young people didn't want to learn wood turning. And the number got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And in some countries, including China, it almost disappeared. You could never find any wood turning, including my country, including Europe, United States, all over the world. It almost disappeared. In some countries, just 5 or 6 people knew how to turn. And Asia, of course, always had a strong wood turning culture. right across Asia, from India to Japan, from Korea to Vietnam. There was always a wood turning culture. Look at this wonderful photograph. This photograph was taken in 1935 in Tibet. And this man is using a lathe. The power is water. Remember the Swiss turner? He had water power. This man also is using a water-powered lathe. And if you look, what's he making? A beautiful bowl. I love that face. He probably died 70, 80 years ago. This is a Tibetan milk container. You put the milk in and you put the top on it and you carry your milk. And it's a beautiful object. You can see here, this is the marks from the tool cutting. So you know it's turned. Always something made with a circle. It has to be turned. There is no other way to do it. It's a beautiful object, maybe 100 years old. This is a Japanese turner, just like the man from Tibet. He's sitting the same way, and he is making children's toys. And look, it's very similar, the way he's sitting. And his lathe, this kind of Japanese lathe, always they lived in the mountains in Japan. In the past, they always lived in the mountains. Why? Why did they live in the mountains?
Many trees.
Many trees, very good, that's one reason. And one other reason? Water. The water comes down the mountain and it spins the lathe. So water power and trees. So now many Japanese wood turners live in the mountains, but they don't use water, they have electricity. So this lathe is the same as the old one, but it's electric now. See, this exactly the same. Exactly the same. The history is very connected. Wood turning went from Egypt all the way, or from China all the way across, I don't know. Look, this is the Swiss man again, exactly the same. Sitting beside the lathe, spinning the wood, making a bowl. Oh, and it continues. So, I came to China last year. Now I have to pause for a moment to say thank you to somebody. There is a group called International Wood Culture Society. It's a Chinese group of people who are preserving the history, education, culture of wood all over the world. And my good friend Su Jinling is sitting here. She is the General Secretary of International Wood Culture Society. And her staff at the back with the camera, they are here because they want to help everybody understand the history of wood and so on. Last year they invited me to China and I went to Linan Agricultural and Forestry University and I gave a talk like this. And I said, does anybody know anything about Chinese wood turning? Nothing, no answers. I said, please help me, I'm here to learn about Chinese wood turning. Nobody knew anything. Nobody understood what wood turning was. Nobody saw any wood turning. And I thought, oh no, it's gone. It disappeared. I was so sad. But my good friend Su Jinling, she didn't give up. And last week we found it. Let's see what we found. We went to an incredible village. Oh, what was the name of the village? And and where is the village? So she never gave up. She searched and she searched and she searched. And we found a living museum. An incredible place. And here we are in the village. This is my wife Yuriko, who is here today. Yuriko is from Japan. She speaks some Chinese and some Japanese. You know, your professor speaks perfect Japanese. He does. So we all talk in Japanese and English. It's good. And here is Sujinling. And these are the people of the village. This man is a wood turner. This man is a wood turner. This man. The young man at the back, he's just beginning. He wants to learn to do it. So that's good news. Another wood turner. This man is a wood turner. And look, it's the same thing you saw with the Tibetan man from the past. The beautiful little bowl. When I saw this village, I wanted to cry. I was so happy. And look, remember the man from Morocco was using the bow? Exactly the same. But he's not using his foot. He's using his hand. But he's making, what do you call that, for a rolling pin for making bread and bouts, I don't know. What do you call a rolling pin? Somebody help me. What is it? This thing for making... Yeah, okay. Thank you. So he's making that. And look, there is no electricity. There's only two pieces of metal. A small piece of metal here and here. That's all. Everything is made from wood. No nails, no screws, nothing. And here he's cutting the wood exactly the same way as 2,500 years ago. See? Same as North Africa. And this is another man, one of the wood turners in the village. And this was the most wonderful thing for me to see. This is a very ancient form of lathe. He sits on here and he has two pedals. So his legs go like this. And the bowl goes... And he cuts the bowl. It's ancient technology. Wonderful. Here you can see, cutting the bowl. This supports the tool. The tool goes here. The bowl spins, and he cuts. And very quickly, it's very quick and very simple. Look, there are the bowls he makes. And you know, a wooden bowl like this, you can use it for 50 years. You wash it every day. In our house, we use wooden bowls or wooden plates. We eat our breakfast from wooden plates. We wash them with the dishes, we dry them. The next day we use them again. They last all your life. He told me when he started wood turning in 1960, he sold one bowl for 17 cents, 17 Chinese cents in 1960. It's not much money. So you have to make a lot of bowls to live. Is my English okay? Yes. Good. And there, the beautiful little bowls, just like the ancient bowls. Why is a bowl so beautiful? This is a very interesting question. It's just a tool. We use it to eat and something. But a bowl has a special feeling. If you think about a human being, I think we are an animal. We're a very interesting animal, but we are an animal. We are the only animal that can drink water from our hands. Monkeys can't do it. Their hand is flat. No other animal can drink from the hands. So when we drink, we do this. What is it? It's a bowl. And when you hold a bowl, in your hands, you are holding 100,000 years of human development in your hands. This is what makes us human, this shape of the hand. That's why we can do what we do. So when I see a beautiful bowl, it is a reflection of the hands, like a mirror of your hands. Next time when you are home, Next time you're eating your lunch and you want to eat your noodles, pick up the bowl and hold it in your hand. And think, yeah, he's right. It feels like my hands. It's the mirror of my hands. So this is not just a tool. This is a significant indication of the development of human technology and human intelligence. One of the most important things we made. In fact, a bowl is unique. A bowl is a way of containing space. You think about that. It's a way of containing space. What is inside a bowl? Nothing. It's air, it's space. And then you put something in the space. It's a wonderful thought. So, the Chinese influence, however, is still strong all around the world in one particular style of wood turning. And I'm sure you'll be very surprised when you see this. But everybody calls this Chinese turning. All over the world, we all know about it. Is this. I'm sure you have seen these things in the shops, maybe. If you go to a craft shop or an art shop, you can see such things made in stone, in ivory, and in wood. And it's made on a lathe. And so you think, well, how do they do that? And it's very ancient. In fact, the Chinese have been doing this for probably much more than 1,000 years. I'm not sure how long, but I think maybe 1,500 years the Chinese have been doing this. But how do you do it? Because we have a ball, then we have another ball, then another ball, and another ball. I have seen one Chinese set of balls with 22 balls, one inside the other. It seems impossible. How do you do it? Well, in fact, it's very easy. It's a Chinese invention. Look inside. See the balls? They all move. They all rotate. Well, this is my friend from France. His name is Christian Delon. Last night I sent him an email. I said, tomorrow I'm talking about you at Beijing Forestry University. And he said, whoa, I'm famous. So he loves this kind of work. So I'm going to show you how he does it. And he copied the Chinese. First, he makes a ball, just like the other turners. You make the ball. So here is the ball. The wood spins, the tool cuts. Then he removes the ball, he cuts the end, removes it from the lathe. Then he uses a compass to mark equal points on the outside of the ball. Then this thing here, remember back the ancient Chinese turner, he was turning the bowl. He has another piece of wood and he cuts a hole in the wood, then he pushes the bowl inside and it holds it. It's called a chuck. C-H-U-K. C-H-U-C-K. A chuck is very important for holding the wood. You can hold it between 2 points, like the man you saw, or you hold it by pushing in a hole. And this is his chuck. He made it. So the ball goes in here. You hold it with this piece, and this screws on to hold it. Then this is for holding the tool. It's a tool holder. And these are the tools. And you see here, you can cut around a corner. Okay, so here is the ball inside the chuck. And he pushes, and when this part here, this curved part, touches the ball, he knows exactly how deep it is. So he can control exactly how much he cuts each time. And that's what happens. He removes wood until this touches, and then he rotates the ball, does it from another side, rotates the ball, does it from another side, rotate, does it from another side. You see what's happening? Gradually he removes the wood, and look, that's the result. That's Chinese technology with Australian wood and a French wood turner. Very international technology now. This is another example. It's a star in a ball. It's about this big. And also, like the Chinese ball, see? A ball, a ball, a ball, a ball, all getting smaller and smaller. So, the Chinese influence is still strong. But China is still indirectly involved in the international wood turning industry. Everybody in the rest of the world knows about Chinese products. What do you think they are? Sorry? Tools, correct. Hand tools, and? Sorry? Somebody can translate? No. Something else. Tops. Tops. Shh. We make our own tops. In fact, 2 days ago I demonstrated making tops here in Beijing. No? What does China do for the whole world now? You make everything for the whole world now. And in fact, you make our lathes. Most of the lathes which we use in the world are made in China. But they're not sold in China. You can't buy this lathe in China. So we have to change that. We have to make it so you can buy them. This is called Powermatic. It's one of the most popular lathes in the United States and Canada. And I have used it. It's a very good lathe, and it's all made in China. At home I use an Australian lathe because I'm Australian, but this is a good lathe. It's a big industry and a lot of money. So who are the Chinese making these lathes for? Who is using these lathes? I told you wood turning almost disappeared. In some countries it did disappear. There were so few wood turners. So why now can you sell lathes? Well, something changed. They're making lathes for old men like me. Around 1960, a few people in the United States particularly, but also in Australia, some in England, they decided they wanted to save wood turning. And so they started to redevelop wood turning into something different. In the past, wood turning was just like in the Chinese village, a quick, easy, cheap way to make something. Just quick, copy, 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 always the same. But some people decided to make wood turning slower and more interesting and more complicated. To use the technique to make more interesting things. And some professionals became very famous quite early, selling their work, and the books were published, and more people saw this, more people got interested. People like me write a lot about wood turning. I write for many magazines, I write books. People read the books, more people want to do wood turning. Now, all over the Western world, particularly United States, Canada, France, Germany, Britain, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Mostly English-speaking countries, but also France and Germany and Italy. There are so many wood turners, you can't believe it. And they love it, because now, when men, it's usually men, but there are also many women, but when men finish their work, they're maybe 60 years old, they can live another 30 years. And they have some money because they saved their money, so they buy a lathe and they learn wood turning. Now I am also a representative of the American Association of Woodturners. The American Association of Woodturners has 15,000 members in 32 countries. Think about that, 15,000 members in 32 countries. And all because they like woodturning. And this is one of the symposiums, conference of woodturners in America. Every year they have a big conference in the United States. Sometimes 3,000, 4,000 people come to the conference. In June, Su Jinling is coming with me to her first American woodturning conference, so she can come back and tell the Chinese about it. And they have many rooms. This is just one room, and at the conference they have maybe 15 rooms. And for 3 days people watch demonstrations. So this man here, professional, and he's showing the people here. Most of them are men. You can see there's a woman, maybe that's a woman, maybe that's a woman. Maybe 85, 90% are men. And then they go home and they try it. And they buy a new lathe from China, and they buy tools from China, and then they buy wood, and they become wood turners. Also, they show their work. So here, these people, they brought their pieces. Here you see them. And they show each other a big exhibition. Sometimes more than 2,000 pieces to see. If you want to look at them all, it takes half a day to look at them all. And everybody looks at them. And by the way, that's made of wood. And it's turned on a lathe. And they sell equipment. They sell machinery. So here you see the men are selling all the machinery. So it's a big business. It's a big wood technology now. And there is the lathe, exactly the same. Now you know what a lathe is. You can see it's not very different to the ancient lathe. And some of these men, including me, they travel around the world teaching. So here I'm teaching in the United States. And this was in the state of Utah. So last year I traveled to 3 or 4 states and teaching. So I get some money so I can come to China to meet you. This man, he was a heart surgeon, a very important doctor. He retired. He wanted to do something. So he's learning wood turning. And I'm showing him how. Also, they have demonstrations all over the world. This man is English. He lives in America, and he's demonstrating in Australia. So we travel all over the world. Sometimes I go around the world 2 or 3 times in 1 year to different countries. This year I'm going to China, Japan, Ireland, United States, and then back to Australia. So teaching, showing, and everything. And all these people in the back are wood turners. This man, this is a conference in Australia. He's showing something very beautiful. First he takes the wood, and look at the wood coming off. It feels wonderful when you do that. It's like an incredible power. And he puts the light inside, and he cuts until it's so thin you can see the light through it. And when it's finished, he takes it off, and you have a light shade. And that took him 1 hour to show that. And everybody's very happy to see that, so you can see they're enjoying it. So they come to the conferences. This man came from Singapore, this man came from Australia. And what are they looking at? It's very like the old bowls. If you look at it, it's just the same as the one from 1,000 years ago, from 2,000 years ago, or from China now, the ancient turning village. It's a bowl.